Kevin got dared by his friends to jump down the infamous off-limits tunnel, its barred entrance a challenge he couldn't resist. With a rush of adrenaline, he jumped into the dimly lit passage, the echoes of his voice against the concrete drowning in the eerie silence. Hours passed, and anxious whispers about Kevin's disappearance spread like wildfire through the neighborhood and his friends. Concerned, his friends combed the vicinity and alerted Kevin's mother. The tunnel's closure amplified their unease. Lydia, Kevin's mother, felt her heart sink into her shoes when his friends came to her. Her stomach turned and her hands became clammy. This can't be happening, she thought. She immediately ran to the tunnel and began calling for her son. "Kevin! Kevin!" she yelled frantically. Her daughter Sarah followed and also yelled for her brother, tears streaming down her face. Feeling helpless, Lydia called the police. They arrived shortly after and prevented anyone from leaving the area. They searched the area, but when they failed to find him, they thought of something else to do. Security cameras surrounded the area and captured every inch of it, so there had to be some footage of Kevin on there. The police officers brought Sarah, his sister, and Lydia into the security control room. The footage of Kevin was already playing on the screens. A tear rolled down Lydia's cheek as she watched her son's disappearance through the screen. But what exactly happened to Kevin, and will they ever find him? But before we start, smash the like button and make sure to subscribe if you haven't, and hit that notification bell so that you won't miss any new stories. When Lydia, Kevin, and Sarah moved to the neighborhood, all seemed to go well. But Kevin kept doing things that Lydia didn't like. She just wanted to move on from her nasty divorce and make new memories with her children. However, Kevin didn't seem interested in that. She knew it would be difficult to keep an eye on both of her children, but she didn't want to deprive her kids of this experience because of that. So she laid down a few ground rules. One of them was that her oldest daughter, Sarah, 14, had to stay with her younger brother, Kevin, 7, at all times, including when playing outside. Lydia thought it was a great idea for the family to spend some quality time together and go to the nearest water park. This is when everything started. The rule was if they were to go to the water park, they must also stay together. But here, Kevin met some friends that would influence him later. There had been a slight struggle to get Sarah to agree with the rule, but Lydia booked the tickets as soon as they did, and they were off to the water park. The park was huge with at least 6 different slides, a child section for the little ones, and other fun activities to do in the water. But there were also closed sections with closed-off tunnels. But with a huge water park also came a huge amount of people. Children were running around and climbing in and out of the water constantly. You could hear parents yelling for their kids to watch out, and there were only a few beds left for them to lie in. Suddenly, Lydia doubted if she had made the right decision. "Sarah, do you see that?" Kevin beamed. "Come on, hurry up. I want to go off that big green slide." He tugged on Sarah's arm. Lydia watched her children disappear into the large crowd of people. She felt a bit nervous but suppressed the feeling. She trusted her daughter and knew she would make the right decisions. Or she wanted to feel that way at least. So, Lydia grabbed her book and began to read, totally forgetting about the time. A loud scream broke Lydia's concentration, and she bolted up. "Mom! Mom!" Sarah came running toward her mother with tears streaming down her face. "Sarah, what happened?" Lydia asked her daughter. Sarah panted and cried. Kevin!" she stuttered. "What is it? Where is Kevin?" her mother asked worriedly. "Sarah, where is Kevin?" Lydia asked again. She grabbed her daughter by the shoulders. "Where is he?" Panic started to rise inside her. "I lost him," Sarah cried. "We were supposed to meet at the red slide because he wanted to go down one more slide before we headed back to you, but he never showed." Lydia felt her heart sink into her shoes. Sarah brought her mother to the slide where they were supposed to meet. She told her mother which slides they had gone down and which slides Kevin seemed to enjoy the most. They checked those slides first, but when they were still unable to find him, they began to search the whole park. Bystanders, as well as the lifeguards, sensed something was wrong, and they started to help Lydia and Sarah with searching. Hours passed by, and Lydia felt there wasn't more she could do on her own. Then some boys came, telling her they went to the off-limit tunnels. Feeling helpless, Lydia called the police. They arrived shortly after and prevented anyone from leaving the park. They searched the park, but when they failed to find him, they thought of something else to do. Security cameras surrounded the park and captured every inch of it, so there had to be some footage of Kevin on there. The police officers brought Sarah and Lydia into the security control room. The footage of Kevin was already playing on the screens. A tear rolled down Lydia's cheek as she watched her son's disappearance through the screen. Kevin walked away from the red slide where his sister was waiting for him and went somewhere no one expected him to go. Kevin snuck past his sister and walked toward the closed section. She never expected her little boy to do something so dangerous. "Where does that tunnel lead to?" she asked the lifeguard worriedly. The lifeguard didn't reply to Lydia's question, but she could see from his expression that something was wrong. Very wrong. "Ma'am, we need you to sit down for a moment," the police began. "We have to speak with the lifeguards in private before we can give you any more information. So for the time being, we need you to stay here and wait." Lydia couldn't believe what she was hearing. "You want me to wait?" Every few steps, she paused, listening for the welcome ring of her cell. With every silent moment, hope dwindled and fear crept in. By the next morning, the story had hit the local news. TV vans lined Lydia's street, reporters aiming microphones at anyone willing to speak. The park's management was put on the spot. "We ensure the safety of our visitors. We are cooperating fully with authorities," the manager claimed. But Lydia and Sarah, watching from inside, felt only the sting of media glare. Angry parents stormed the park's gates. They clutched their children tightly, vowing never to return. The once gleaming reviews on the park's website turned sour. "Not safe for kids," one read. "Think twice before visiting," warned another. The park, a symbol of summer joy, had now turned into a nightmare. Meanwhile, at the local community center, volunteers gathered. Maps of the water park and surrounding areas were spread out on tables. Sarah, now resolute, decided to take matters into her own hands. She gathered her closest friends, recalling the details of that day. "We have to search every corner of that park," she declared. Armed with a sense of purpose, they made their way to the water park, each praying to uncover the vital clue that would bring Kevin home. Inside the park, Sarah's group approached other children. "Have you seen Kevin? Do you remember the tunnel slide incident?" They gathered tales, pieces of a puzzle. Sarah and her friends began to dig deeper. Old news articles and posts hinted at previous minor mishaps on the blue slide. One child recounted a weird turn within the slide, while another spoke of a sudden and unexpected drop. In the security office, a seasoned guard named Frank sat reviewing hours of footage. He paused, rewinding a particular segment. There it was, a slight glitch as Kevin approached the tunnel's exit. The footage was unclear, but Frank felt certain something wasn't right. He needed to share this with Lydia and the investigators. Sarah, armed with her findings, led Lydia to the park manager's office. "Why weren't we told about the anomalies with this tunnel?" Lydia's voice trembled with fury. The manager, cornered, hesitated, then admitted there had been minor issues, but nothing warranting a shutdown. Their confrontation grew heated, with both sides demanding answers. After seeing the video anomaly, the police decided to widen their search radius. The park was combed in meticulous detail, but now surrounding neighborhoods, woods, and shopping districts were included. They theorized Kevin might have wandered off, disoriented after exiting the tunnel. While scouring the nearby area, Sarah stumbled upon a familiar toy store. Glancing inside, she noticed a toy truck identical to the one Kevin had taken to the park. Speaking with the cashier, she learned a boy fitting Kevin's description had been there earlier, looking lost. Hope surged within her. The police, acting on this new lead, brought in search dogs. The dogs, focused and determined, began their search, leading the team through alleys, streets, and parks. Neighbors and strangers alike rallied, sharing information and joining search groups. The community was united in their goal, bringing Kevin home. Reporters took to the streets, interviewing passers-by. "Have you seen this boy?" Many shook their heads, but a few provided potential leads. An elderly woman remembered seeing a confused child at a bus stop. A shopkeeper mentioned a boy asking for directions. Every bit of information, no matter how small, was a piece in the intricate puzzle of Kevin's whereabouts. Every night, Lydia sat by Kevin's bed, surrounded by his toys, praying for a miracle. The quiet of the room was punctuated by her soft sobs. She clutched his favorite teddy, whispering wishes and promises, hoping the next day would see her son home. One evening, Sarah sat with her best friend, eyes brimming with tears. "It's my fault," she whispered, the weight of guilt consuming her. Lydia's phone rang, breaking the stifling silence. A voice on the other end spoke of a boy, lost and scared, matching Kevin's description. Heart racing, Lydia relayed the news to the search team. Every second counted. With the location pinned, police cars with Lydia on board raced through the streets, sirens wailing. Arriving at a modest house, Lydia hesitated at the door. It swung open to reveal a kind-faced family, and behind them, a familiar little face. It was Kevin. Their eyes met, and the world paused. Huddled in his mother's arms, Kevin began his story. Lost, scared, and overwhelmed, he wandered around unfamiliar streets after the tunnel, each turn making him feel more lost. But the kindness of strangers, especially the family who found him, gave him hope. Sarah rushed in, and the room was filled with tears of relief and joy. The three embraced tightly, a bond once strained now stronger than ever. Words weren't needed. Their hearts spoke the language of love and gratitude. The incident left scars but also brought lessons. The community became more vigilant, parents held their children tighter, and the park underwent major safety checks. The ordeal was a reminder of the fragility of life and the strength of unity. Gathered around the dining table, Kevin finally disclosed the detail everyone had missed. "The tunnel," he began. "It took me outside the water park." His words painted the picture of his journey, explaining how he got lost trying to find his way back. The revelation was a crucial piece, making sense of the puzzle that had haunted them all.